Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where everyone bows instead of shakes hands, where katanas replace handguns, and where the Emperor of Japan rules from a golden palace that makes the White House look like a garden shed. This isn't fantasy. It's the world we might be living in if one historical moment had gone differently. The moment when Japan chose isolation over conquest. But what if they hadn't? What if instead of closing their borders in 1633, the samurai had turned their gaze outward and decided to conquer the entire world? You probably know samurai as those badass warriors with the cool swords and fancy armor. But what your history teacher never told you is how close they came to changing the fate of humanity. In the early 1600s, Japan had something most nations didn't: a unified military class with discipline that would make today's special forces look like kindergartners during nap time. While Europe was busy with its religious wars and China was dealing with the collapse of the Ming dynasty, Japan had just unified under the Tokugawa Shogunate. They had the world's best swordsmiths, a warrior code that glorified death in battle, and they just invented the world's first standardized rifle, the Tanegashima. Oh, and their naval capability? They were building ships that could cross oceans when most European vessels were still hugging coastlines like nervous swimmers. But here's where history took that crucial turn. In 1633, Shogun Iemitsu issued the Sakoku Edict, closing Japan to the outside world. But what if instead, he had looked at maps of a vulnerable Asia and a divided Europe and thought, it's free real estate? The conquest would have started with Korea, a stepping stone they'd already invaded twice before. Then China, weakened by dynastic change, would have fallen next. With Asia under samurai control, the resources and manpower would have been staggering. But here's the twist. Unlike the Mongols before them, the samurai understood the importance of cultural assimilation. They wouldn't just conquer, they would convert. By the time European powers realized what was happening, samurai fleets would be arriving on their shores. And while European muskets were still inaccurate and slow to reload, Japanese warriors would be charging with weapons that combined the best of Eastern craftsmanship with Western technology. What would this global shogunate look like? For starters, hierarchy would be everything. Your position at birth would determine your entire life, not so different from feudal Europe, but codified with Japanese precision. The daimyo class would rule continents while the emperor, a god king, would be worshipped from Tokyo to London to New York. The world economy would revolve around rice, not gold. Universities would teach Bushido philosophy alongside mathematics. And Western individualism? Consider it replaced by a culture where honor and collective harmony are the highest values. What happened next would shock you. Crime rates would plummet as criminal justice would be swift and final. One violation of the samurai code? That's a beheading, but not everything would be grim. The architecture of our cities would blend castle aesthetics with practical fortifications. Art would flourish in unexpected ways. Imagine Michelangelo commissioned to paint Japanese myths instead of biblical scenes. And tea ceremonies would replace cocktail hours as the networking event of choice for the global elite. The most profound change, though? War itself would be transformed. The samurai code valued honorable battle over territorial conquest. The global shogunate might have created a world where wars are fought by champions in ritual combat rather than armies slaughtering each other in trenches. World War I might have been decided by a single duel between master swordsmen. Of course, resistance would emerge. Underground movements would form around displaced monarchs and religious leaders. The American frontier might become a refuge for those fleeing samurai rule, creating a wild west where cowboys and ronin clash under prairie skies. By the modern era, would technology have advanced the same way? Probably not. The samurai valued tradition, so innovation would follow different paths. We might have perfect swords and incredible defensive architecture, but perhaps no nuclear weapons or space travel. Or maybe we'd have both. Samurai astronauts exploring Mars with katanas at their sides. The most haunting question isn't what the world would look like under samurai rule. It's whether it would actually be any worse than the world history gave us instead. A world unified under one code, one hierarchy, one set of values. No world wars, no Cold War, no nuclear standoff. So next time you complain about your boss or government, remember, in another timeline, you might be kneeling before a daimyo. Your life bound by the code of Bushido. Your nation, just one province in the endless global shogunate. If that blew your mind as much as a samurai's blade through bamboo, slash that like button, draw your subscription katana and share this video with your clan. Your shogun commands it. Or don't, I'm not actually a feudal warlord, yet.